Welcome to Metaphysical Soul Speak. I'm your host, Elena Fox Starks. Hey guys, I hope that you're doing really well in this particular moment, in this part of space and time, and on this crazy planet we find ourselves on. I hope that you are aware of the word synchronicities around you. That includes the name synchronicities or word signs. These name and word synchronicities have been all around me lately. Not just seeing 33 or 1111 or 44 all the time like I have been, and especially 22 and 222. But I've been, it's so freaky. I don't know what's going on, but I do know that I was out walking a couple days ago and I saw a sign that said, oh gosh, I can't remember. I think it says Martin Fierro, F-I-E-R-R-O. I think that's the first name was Martin. And then, like the next day, I was watching Millennials and someone said to someone else, oh, please don't let this be a Martin Fierro moment. And I'm like, wait, what? I mean, Millennials was filmed in Argentina. I'm in Ecuador. Maybe he's a special hero like Simón Bolívar. Simón Bolívar single-handedly got the Spaniards out of, well, not all by himself, but he gathered enough men to get all the Spaniards out of South America. So he is a hero all over the place, but Martin Fierro, I've never heard of him before. I mean, if someone had said Simón Bolívar, that would have made more sense to me because, well, yeah, I would have blown it off as a coincidence. I also think it's weird, though. I mean, my being in South America, there's some strange coincidences. In almost every country I've been in, there has been a street. In fact, almost every city I've lived in, there's been a street called October 12th. I still don't know what that means. I know it has something to do with probably Simón Bolívar. And that's my father's birthday. And also the day he died. And it used to be Columbus Day. So I know that in the U.S., I think now it's known as Indigenous Peoples Day, or it ought to be if it's not officially that. But that was weird. Martin Fierro. I'm like, oh, that's really, really weird. So I remember when I first saw the sign, I'm like, does that mean Iron Fierro? That's really weird. I want to look it up. So I remembered the word. And then within 24 hours, bam, Martin Fierro. So I thought that was very weird. And then when I had Jude on and he talked about ordering some Cintamani or Cintamani, Cintamani. Okay, so if I was to break down the words in Spanish, cinta means tape, mani means peanuts. So tape peanuts, peanut tape. Literally, it's like spelled like tape peanut. So it makes no sense in Spanish or especially English. But this is a rock and it's really, really weird. It's like a very, very dark green, but it appears to have the color of black. Well, I'm on the disclosurenews.it website, and here's a advertisement for Cintamani. I've studied rocks and minerals and geology, and I've gone to rock shows since I was, 6 or 7 years old, and I've never seen or heard of a Cintamani, ever. And here Jude comes along just the other day saying, I bought the Sintamani, now I'm connecting to ETs. Oh my gosh. And then I'm seeing this on disclosurenews.it, which might have been a weird coincidence, except I got an email like this week from the advertiser that I advertise with to New Age clients, startups, and he sent a whole thing. These people sent a whole thing about Sintamani and how they're selling it right now, and how it's from the dog star Sirius, and how, from basically the dog star. Yeah, I guess Sirius is a star, and then there's planets around there, and the Sintamani is from those planets, and it's for ET communication. And all of a sudden, they have a whole bunch of it, and they're trying to sell it through these series of emails. And I'm looking at this, going, wait a minute. Now, dude just said something about Sintamani. Now I'm looking at this Sintamani. I looked up something else and came across an article in a magazine about Sintamani. Didn't look it up. Didn't look up ET communication. Nothing like that. So that's like 4 times now in like 3 days or something. And so I want you guys to pay attention, because when this is happening to you, I think this means I need to buy some Sintamani. I really think that's what it means. I need to somehow contact Sirius the dog star. I don't know, but that's some kind of crazy clue. And I've been for 3 days trying to get over to the crystal shop my son told me about, and I thought he was meaning a different shop. And then today he's like, oh, well, that one, they closed down because the building was condemned. They had to fix the roof or something before they could reopen. And now they may or may not be open. We don't know. And so I was like, well, that's weird. So for like 3 days, I was planning to go somewhere that wasn't. And things kept stepping in the way of it. Like, I couldn't go. Like, I was ready to go, got dressed, ready to walk out the door. And my son's like, I don't have any clean pants. And I'm like, well, all right, so I'll do your laundry. So there was that. And then, and today he was really sick. And yesterday, I think he had plans. And the thing is, we were going to go together. We were going to spend $60 on something, and whatever that something was, it fell through. And I said, well, you know what, though? Let's, I know. It's like, we were going to try to spend $60 on this dinner. In fact, it was going to be possibly like $150 if we had to pay for our friend who backed out anyway. So I'm like, well, it's $45 each. It's $90, but then there's this other one that was $60. I was like literally willing to spend $60. And at the last minute, I was given an opportunity to go to a $14 dinner instead. And it's not with a view, and you don't have to take a bus and go an hour outside of town to look at the forest or whatever. So, I mean, that's kind of sad about that, but it's only $14. So I'm saving money. I'm like, but you know what? Let's take this extra money that I had set aside for Thanksgiving dinner, and let's go buy ourselves some really special crystals. So if I'd gone by myself, I would have gone to the burned out building or whatever, the place without a roof. I don't know. So I probably would have wasted $7 getting over there and back without actually getting anything that I wanted or needed. And there's like a little tiny shop next to it. It's the same owner, but the little tiny shop, he had like 3 pendulums and like, I don't know, 10 crystals. And I had zero attraction to any of them except for one that I did buy. And that was it. I was just like, this selection is terrible. I mean, the place is literally the size of my bed. At least the part where you walk around in. So like when my son and I were in there, a guy walked in and he had to sit down in a chair so that we wouldn't be knocking into each other. He had to wait till we were finished with our purchases so he could purchase his stuff. That's how tiny that place is. And the guy has a place down the road that had to be closed for the roof, and it's like the size of a warehouse, apparently. It's like enormous. So it's like hilarious. We found this little magic shop, and it's like literally the size of my like queen size bed. It's so tiny. So I don't know. It's just, but I know that I have to buy Sintamani, and I know I probably should look into Martin Fierro and see what the hell that is. Especially if I hear that word again, that Fierro, that name again. But those are the things. There was one other thing, I can't remember what it was, but one other thing that's been cropping up again and again and again. And I think it might have been the name Adolf or Adolphi, and that, which it makes me a little uncomfortable because of you know who, but but that, and then maybe one other thing is like, so anyway, so I've been getting these weird name synchronicities, and I've been getting these weird I don't know what, just I don't know, weird name synchronicities, weird word synchronicities, just word signs. So I wanted to let you guys know about that, because maybe it might be something that you like hear something and then you go, oh yeah, whatever. Like you meet someone named Ruby and you're like, oh, okay, whatever. And then you go to a store and you find a shirt you like and it says Ruby Red or something. You're like, okay, fine. And then someone says, hey, I'm going to breakfast. You want to meet me at Ruby Tuesdays? You're like, wait a minute, that's the third time I've heard Ruby this week, and that's weird. I never hear that word. You know, and then all of a sudden, like, someone's selling a ring or something, and it's a ruby ring, and you're like, oh my God. You know, my grandma's birthday's coming up, and I'm going to buy her that ruby ring. It's her size. How weird. You know what I mean? So I think sometimes words will come to you to get you to pay attention. There's something coming regarding that thing. You know? Oh, okay, I just got it. I know why Adolf came up for me. There's going to be an Adolf Menju movie I haven't seen yet come up on my classic thing. I just saw it. So that's in my future to look forward to. Oh, yeah, that was the other thing. And that does remind me, that is the other thing. And by the way, Adolf Menju, if you could go see the old black and white movies, this guy is hysterical. He is so funny. His movies are always really good. And Adolf Menju. Menju is Menjou. I think he was a French actor, and his Adolf is Adolphe. So if you could like look up his name on YouTube, you'll probably find out some of the movies he's done. He did very old black and white classics. So yeah, that's why. I'm like, why would that be? Because, all right. So also it's my friend's brother's middle name. So I don't know. It has nothing to do with him, though. No, right. I just asked and did muscle testing. No. So, Clementine, my darling Clementine, my son said to me something about being a cowboy and a few different things. And we started talking about Wyatt Earp. I'm like, well, you know, he has a brother named Virgil. And then I felt good about naming him Virgil after I realized that, you know, because Virgil Earp was a hero, so was Wyatt Earp. So there was nothing wrong with naming him Virgil, you know, and he loves the name, and it was his spirit's idea to be called Virgil anyway. But I said, once I learned that, I'm like, oh yeah, that's cool. That's something you could look up to, you know, Virgil the poet and also Virgil Earp. So famous Virgils. And so he, asked me if I knew of any good movies about the OK Corral and the Earp gang, or not, they weren't a gang, but the Earp family. And I'm like, yeah, you know what, actually, let me look it up. And so I looked up a bunch of them, and I looked up the list, and I told him the list, and one of them was named My Darling Clementine. And I said, oh yeah, you know, that's a really good movie. I said, oh yeah, that might be a good movie. I don't know, I haven't seen it. And then literally 24 hours later, one of my apps for classic movies came up, and the movie that was just added was My Darling Clementine. I'm like, oh, no way. Well, I looked at the movie poster, and apparently it was directed by John Ford, one of my favorite old-timey directors. I'm like, no way. No way. I didn't know he directed it. Well, now we definitely have to watch it, right? We haven't watched it yet, but I'm like, you know, this is just one of those things. It's just one of those instances where you're like, you got to kind of watch that. You got to watch it, you know? And so there wasn't any other thing with darling or Clementine or whatever. I mean, the word my comes up all the time, you know, in common day language, but But it was weird that specific movie, based on the conversation I had about Virgil and Wyatt Earp and all those people, the OK Corral, that was so strange. And my son, he's been interested lately in the kind of clothing and stuff that cowboys back in the day wore. He started wearing a cowboy hat recently, and he wanted to learn more. So we started looking it up. And the guy doing the videos, his name is Virgil. And I'm like, no way. I mean, it's just like so many things where it's like, oh yeah, right. So I want you guys to pay attention to the name coincidences as well as the word coincidences. Because it's going to lead you to something cool, and I don't know about this Piero thing, but it'd be funny if I met someone with that name, coming up soon and be like, oh yeah, wait, are you related to Martin Piero, Martin Piero? Because he must be some kind of a hero because he's well known throughout, like here we have the October 9th market. We have October 12th as a street. We've got April 9th. I mean, it's going to be easy when I go to take the history test for Ecuador because I have all this stuff memorized because I know where the markets are and what, like in the April 9th market, you could get bandanas for 38 cents. You could get a bandana for your hair, which I've gotten bandanas, the exact same kind, 25 years ago for $5 in the United States, the exact same kind. So, and I mean, same quality and everything. It's unbelievable. And then I know like October 9th market, that's where you get really, really fresh produce. You could buy 4 enormous bags of fruit and vegetables for under $20. Enormous. I mean, if you bought the same stuff at like Whole Food Market, it would be like almost $200 worth of produce. So it's all organic where I get it. So it's like crazy. It's like, but I have like these weird dates memorized because of that. But I keep thinking like, oh yeah, in October 18th is my son's birthday. Was watching Friends. Turns out that's Ross Geller's birthday is October 18th. And I thought that was very strange. And that date has come up again too recently. So that's like, I don't know. I just want you guys to pay attention to that kind of stuff. I've always talked about the cloud signs and the number signs, like the angel numbers, but these are like some other things. I figure if I bring it up to you, if you think about an animal, then you start seeing that animal everywhere. That's another, like an animal sign. All right. Yeah, so there's that. There's some strange symptoms I've been going through. Besides the deep, intense dreams we've all been having, I started having today when I woke up. I woke up at 11. I woke up at a decent hour, and hopefully tomorrow I'll wake up earlier. Who knows? But I'm trying to get back to a decent schedule again. And I just had really horrible venting dreams. I think I was in heaven with my father. And then after that, I had a venting dream, and it was like I really missed my dad. So I woke up like, God, I really missed my dad. And so that was kind of annoying, to just wake up kind of bummed, And then I was getting over it. Everything was good. And then all the S hit the fan and in other parts of my life. And it was just like, So I had like 6 hours of extreme stress when I could have been done with the show 6 hours ago. But, oh well. And during this day, too, that was another weird thing. The whole sky here was, for a while, the clouds were like gray and white and blue, a couple shades of blue, but then they kind of gave way to just a mist or like a fog. And then the whole world turned sepia, like old-fashioned photographs, like that weird tannish brownish color. The whole world was sepia for hours. And then the sun was going down, and the rain started raining sideways or at a really, really deep slant. And so it covered my whole bedroom window with rain. And then as the rain was running down the window, the sun started to come through. And this is so bizarre because usually the sun doesn't come through my window when it goes down because of the angle of the building. But it's just the right time of the year now where the sun does come through my window and it lights up my one wall, which is kind of a tan or almost sepia color anyway. And then I had the energy of the sepia outside and with the streaks of rain, and then the sunlight came through. So now there's this extra bright sepia on my wall. And it was streaks and weird. It looked like a piece of art on my wall. It was one of the most insane things. I was like, and it didn't make me feel good, even though it was kind of a pretty color. I was like, I felt really weird about the energy of that. And I don't know why. And I don't know what it was. But I just felt like a melancholy and a sadness all day long. So if you were feeling that, that might be like a symptom of what's going on with us now. Another thing that I've been feeling is my bones are vibrating in my lower legs and my feet, my ankles, as you know, the one I broke, yes, I would think that was normal, but now the other one that I did not break, and the bones in my feet and in my legs, but not my whole lower leg, but just like a section. And it feels like there's a cell phone on vibrate inside my bones. It just goes, you know, almost like there's bees inside my freaking legs, inside my bones and my legs. And obviously there's no bees there. So it's that kind of feeling. And it's like, and it felt like my legs were being lifted up off the bed. So when I was like falling asleep, when I was waking up, felt like my legs were being lifted up. I'm like, yay, I'm getting the power of levitation. All right, I'm not levitating yet, but it would be so cool if I was. But I don't know, maybe that's like the first step into levitating, that suddenly your bones just, you know. Maybe the second step is you just have a strong desire to leave the earth. Is that the other way that levitation happens? I don't know. When you feel like, screw it, I don't want to be here anymore. And then, whoo, you just lift off the ground. I don't know. That's probably not true. Anyway, but yeah, I was getting this weird sort of energy all day long. And I don't know. I've had some other stuff, but I think that might just be me. Just a deep sadness that left me with a desire not to eat at all. Not to be awake at all. I just feel like sleeping, even though I forced myself to stay awake, and I tried to eat, and I just, every time I want to eat, I feel like kind of sick to my stomach, like I don't really want to eat. And that just could be me. I don't know. I don't have H. pylori anymore because I got rid of it, but I don't know. I don't know what it is. I'm like trying to figure that one out, but I feel like the sepia thing, I kind of felt like that weird, it wasn't quite a golden energy or a brown energy, but it's almost like a mix of the two. Almost like there was this beautiful golden sunlight of pure light and truth and godliness with a whole bunch of crap in front of it. Like all of our baggage, all of our junk, all of our yucky energy that was blocking it collectively. That's what I felt yesterday. And I only saw it for a few minutes, and then today was like the whole day. So I don't know if it's a new energy coming our way or not. And the people that I trust to like tell us that this is going on have been kind of MIA lately on YouTube. And I noticed that a lot of people that I tend to turn to, if I'm feeling or seeing something and I'm wondering and I'm a little bit doubting, like maybe it's just me, maybe it's not the collective. And then I always go to these channels and they always have the answers. In the last couple of months, they've been MIA. Sarah O'Brien did 2 videos like last week, and then that was it. Over a week ago, maybe now. And Why So Serious, 24D. Oh, there we go. Serious, again, in here, Sintamani. From Sirius, and then Why So Serious, spelled the same way, Sirius. So it's a whole nother Sirius related thing. I don't know. Crazy stuff. All right, well, I'm going to tell you guys about disclosurenews.it right now. 9 o'clock in the morning, they said, as you can see in the graph of the last 3 days, the increase in power of the variations has always been constant, one day after another. On the 22nd, during the activity phase, we got to power 30. On the 23rd, it was P57, basically 57 Hertz frequency on the Schumann Resonance scale. And today, for now, we are at 68 Hertz frequency. Today's activity started at 1, about 6 hours after 6 hours of calm. The first maximum reached briefly 35 to 50, around 4 UTC time. And then the maximum power was 68 right before 7 UTC. Well, then the evening report says today's activity lasted for 9 hours from 1 to 10 UTC. The maximum amplitude peak was power 68 at 7 UTC. And since then, for 3 hours, there were strong variations that repeatedly exceeded the 60 Hertz frequency thresholds. All right. Then it gets a little weird. The 2300 report says, if you look carefully to the main chart, you can see a peculiar white pillar ending exactly at 1700, the time zone of the station. Coincidence? Schumann Resonance is part of the Q map, as you can see in the image below. And says, seems like you are here, larger Q map. And I'm like, what the hell are these people talking about? But if you want to go to disclosurenews.it, you can see this is like a series of pillars all the way across the page, not just in a part of it, but up and down completely. And then the very last one is just solid white band, a very thick band of solid white activity. Now, I don't know what the hell the Q map is. We're going to explore that together. I'm clicking the word Q map because what the hell are they talking about? And I'm going to wait for that to load. And in the meantime, I'm going to heartmath.org, which we're going to find out the rest of the Schumann resonances for the day. Let's see here. All right. At midnight, California was at 67 Hertz frequency. And by 5 a.m., they went down to 65 Hertz frequency. And in Hofuf, Saudi Arabia, they were just a straight flat line 0 all the way across, all day. They didn't stop with the 0 yet. All right, so let's see here. It's weird. Okay. I know this stuff by heart. Lithuania. Oh yeah, see, this is why I'm having a block to that right now, because yesterday was the birthday of my Lithuanian prince. He wasn't really a prince, but he was a prince of a person. An amazing human being who he and I dated for a couple years in university, and he's the one that got away. And the reason he got away is I wasn't about to admit my feelings for him until he admitted his feelings for me. And we played a game of chicken for almost 2 years without saying I love you to each other. And then finally, he just went and met a Lithuanian woman to please his parents. And they were together for a few years. They both went into the army. And then she broke his heart. And a week before I married my husband, the one I had children with, he called me and asked me to marry him. And said, that's it, I give up, I love you, I always loved you, I've been in love with you this whole time, since day one. And this is like 5 years after we met. And I'm like, and I was stunned, and my husband-to-be was sitting in the room with me. What can I say? Oh, gee, I love you too, I'm in love with you too. I was all, well, what am I up to? I'm getting married in 7 days. And he's on the other end going, come away with me, run away with me. I will come immediately and get you. I will take you anywhere you want to live. I'm going to be a $300 an hour lawyer, and I'm going to be with you forever and ever. Because I absolutely love you. I'm so in love with you. I'm like, oh my God. I'm like, but, you know what I mean? And I couldn't say anything. And he was the one that got away, and he got away twice. And so about 15 years ago, I had this thing. I had to look. I kept seeing his birthday, 11/23. Every day, seeing 11/23. I mean, like, you know, at the clock time, and then I saw the truck pulled in front of me, and that was the bumper sticker said something about Lithuania, and right on the license plate said 11/23. I went to the grocery store, and the things I bought came to 11/23. I mean, on and on and on for like a whole week. And I said, okay, God, show me what's going on. And I saw that he was in grave danger. And so I looked him up. I found his number. I called him. I left a message on his phone. He didn't answer. He didn't get back to me. And so that was it. A week later, my husband was going to go into town, like 40 minutes or no, like 30 minutes away. And so I'm like, I have a good hour to call him and talk to him, you know, without my husband getting weird or jealous. And okay, fine. So he left, and I knew he was going to be gone for like 3 hours. So I call him. He answers the phone. He goes, I just walked in the house right now, and I listened to my messages, and I heard your message. And I finished listening to my messages, and the phone rang, and it was you. That's unbelievable. I'm like, oh, well, you know, timing, whatever. Did you just get home from work? He goes, no. I just got out of a foxhole in Iraq, and I've been there for months. And I just got home right now. I'm like, oh, no wonder. I've been seeing your birthday everywhere. And he's like, what? I'm like, yeah, 11/23 on the clock, you know, 11:23 in the morning, but it's your birthday. And he's like, oh my God, you're still doing that? Because when it's 12:25, he would ask me, oh, what time is it? I'd be like, oh, it's Christmas. Or if it's 2:14 in the afternoon, oh, it's Valentine's Day. And he always thought that was one of the coolest things, that he's like, your mind works in a completely different way than anyone else I've ever met. You know, like if he says, what time is it? And I say, it's Ventura Highway. Because everyone knows that that's 101. You know, it's like my mind works in a totally crazy, eccentric way compared to everyone else. And that was one of the things he always loved about me, is one of my quirks, right? So I'm like, yeah, I've been seeing your birthday everywhere. And license plates, the time. I even saw a truck pull in front of me that had your birthday on it, and with a bumper sticker from Lithuania. He's like, no way. I'm like, yeah, weird, right? Like, he was American, but he's also Lithuanian, because his parents were Lithuanian. His father's a professor, teaches at UCLA. And so anyway, that's why he was even in California to begin with. And he ended up in the U.S. Army, and he's like obviously full-blooded American. But he was the one that got away. And for like days I've been seeing his birthday, and I'm like, dude. And now, you know, I don't want to, I saw his wedding announcement. He told me, I said, look, I had a feeling that you're getting ready to get married. And that was our last conversation. And I go, I wanted to tell you something though. You called and told me you loved me. You always loved me. And I feel bad. I left the ball. I didn't drop the ball. I just like kept holding on to it. I should have just played it in the field. He's like, what are you talking about? I'm like, look, I'm married. I've got 2 kids. I love my kids. I love my husband. I've got a great life right now. But I always, always loved you. And I always will love you. So no matter what you do, no matter where you are in your life, I'm always going to love you for the rest of my life. No matter what. If I ever see you again or not. I'm not trying to change your world, not trying to change anything. But I wanted to let you know that we played that game of chicken too good for like 2 years. And then I left you hanging for another like 7 years. But I wanted to let you know that I do love you. You are really important to me, and I've always loved you. He's like, I can't believe you remember my birthday. You know what I mean? And I'm like, why wouldn't I? I remember your crazy name. He has like 6 names all in Lithuanian, and I remember them all. And even to this moment, I remember them all. And they were all super hard to pronounce, so we just called him V. But he was the one that got away. And I even told my kids, I'm like, God, you know, you could have had a war hero who shook the hands of the president and rescued 12 people. Like, that could have been your dad. It's like so crazy that it was just so close. Like, I could have married him. I could have been married earlier. Like, I don't know how my life would have been like, but because I told him no, he went back into the military, and that's when he became a war hero. he would have, he said I was going to quit he was going to quit the military for me. He's like, I'm going to quit the military for you and study law. And now he's still in the military, career military, as a lawyer in the military now. It's like crazy. Like, he would not have re-upped if I would have said yes. Because he knew I didn't want him to be in the military if he was with me. And he considered that before he even called me to ask me to marry him back in the day. So it's like the one that got away, that was yesterday's birthday. Tomorrow is the birthday of a friend who is just a very dear friend to me. And I was trying to explain, I had one of my best friends at the time also knew him. And I said, you know, the best life out of all the lives I've ever lived, the most peaceful, most loving, most beautiful, innocent, amazing life that was filled with nothing but pure love. And it's this guy. And I want to tell him. And he acted weird because I said I wanted to be alone with him for like 10 minutes to talk to him about a couple things. One was that, and the other thing was this massive investment opportunity. And I didn't want anyone to hear about it because I wanted to get his opinion in the event that it might be something weird or not right, or because he was in the world of finance. You know, and we were surrounded by a lot of people who were hungry for money. And I'm like, I don't want to mention it unless it's something that's going to be good. I'm glad I didn't do it. I didn't do it because I didn't get a chance to talk to him. It turns out a lot of those people that started that company ended up being arrested. So the good news is I didn't do that. But he was just like, no, I can't. And he was acting all weird and squirrely. And I found out later that she freaking called him and told him that I was in love with him, which I was not. Never have been in love with him. I love him like I love everyone on the planet. Like I love you guys in personal love, like, you know. But I wanted to thank him. I wanted to tell him, like, I had this weird past life memory about you. But it was beautiful and sweet, and I could see the purity of your soul. And I wanted to say thank you for having integrity and for being a good person in this life as well as in the life I knew you before. You know, because we had a couple weird moments where we met up at 6 a.m. and just accidentally ran into each other in this hotel where we had this huge convention for the company we were both in, that he owned, actually. And I was never up at 6 a.m. I'm not a morning person, but I just couldn't sleep. I was like, I had to get up. I couldn't sleep. And I went downstairs and he put his arms around me and it was like we'd been a couple since the dawn of time. It was one of those weird moments where we just fell into each other's arms and we're both really tired, and he started kissing my head as if we were a couple. We were both very, very married, and we didn't like kiss on the lips or nothing weird. There was nothing, it wasn't a sexual thing. It was just more of a, I'm so glad I found you sort of thing. I remember the day I met him, I had that attraction towards him too, and I thought he was like a waiter at a different convention in another city because I was in a travel company. And so anyway, but I never thought like, oh, I'm in love with him. And I never told her that. I said, in my past life, we were completely in love. We had kids. We were Native Americans, lived in a teepee next to a river. And it was the most beautiful, innocent, and sweet life I could ever have imagined. Because when I started asking my higher guidance, hey, what is the best life I've ever had? Where have I felt the most love, the most comfort, the most incredible feelings without any struggle at all, except for the day-to-day, whatever, aches and pains or, you know, getting a splinter or something stupid. And God gave me the dream of that life, and it was incredible. Well, his birthday is tomorrow. And I'm just like, okay. It's like all these Sagittarius men, you know, and but it's never worked out with me in Sagittarius. My first husband was a Sagittarius as well. And Sagittarius is like, they love to travel. They love adventure. They don't usually like to be pinned down, you know, in a marriage or in a relationship situation. But my first husband did, and then he got restless like a few weeks after. He was thinking, when I broke up with him, he was just like, oh, thank God, I was going to cheat on you. And I'm like, what? He's like, well, I don't have anyone in mind. I just felt like any moment now it's going to happen, and then I'm going to feel really bad. He's like, because I'm a Sagittarius. I want to be free and roam around. And, you know, I was hoping you go for a swinging thing. I'm like, ew, that's not me at all, dude. Like, what? You know, we were together for a year and you didn't tell me this crap? It was crazy, but sorry, I just, like, I'm a one-person, you know, and anyway, so November is really crap month for me. It's like the birthdays of two men that I love. One I was absolutely in love with for years. And he's married. I'm sure he's got kids. You know, I'm never going to contact him. It's just like, whatever. And then the other one, same thing, married, kids, whatever. I'm not going to go there. And he and I have, like, so much in common, though. Like, he would call me and he was like, oh, I'm going to go to this thing in Reno. Are you going to go? Yeah, I'm going to go, because there's, like, the Rolling Stones are in concert there. And I want to go to the concert. Do you want to go? And he's like, oh my God, I've been looking for someone to go to that concert with me because I really love the Rolling Stones. My wife completely hates them. You know, do you want to do something? I'm like, well, you know what? I tell you what, if your wife can watch my kids and your kids, and then you and I go to the concert, then the next night you and your wife will have a nice romantic dinner or whatever, and I'll watch your kids and my kids. And he's like, oh my God, that's perfect. That's absolutely perfect. Let's do that. You know, like, we were totally, like, in sync, like friends, buddies, no more than that. But my friend ruined it because she lied to him about my feelings, which was insane. How do you even know my feelings when that's not my feelings? But she just wanted to cause trouble. And then a couple months later, she actually caused so much trouble that I lost my business. I was making a few $1,000s a month passively. And she... a few racial slurs, and guess what? You lose everything. I was so mad at her. I was like, why would you say this to these people? Like, it was, like, insane, and I am not going to ever repeat what she said because it's really bad. And needless to say, she and I are not really friends anymore. I mean, crazy stuff, man. But Lithuania, yeah, that's why I forgot this on the Schumann Resonance. I'm sorry, an hour later. I'm just kidding. So, yeah, I'm like, I have this mental block. Why? Oh, yeah, right, because of V. Beautiful, handsome, gorgeous, sexy, green-eyed, blonde-haired V. With muscles like a freaking Greek god, V. And a heart of gold. And a really sharp, intelligent mind with a great sense of humor. That's the kind of guy I want. I mean, I don't care about the, like, you know, green eye. I mean, I don't care. I like brown hair and brown eyes mostly. But I mean, it was his personality. He was so awesome. And plus, he spoke a lot of languages. I love when men speak 1 or 2 or 3 languages. I love that. Even if it's not complete, but they know enough to get around in a country like France or, you know, I just love that. I love that. All right. Enough of that. So basically, if you're my guy and you meet that description, call me. Write me, metaphysicalsoulspeak@gmail.com. Anyway, all right. So yeah, Lithuania. Duh. Okay, Schumann Resonance. In Lithuania, it was like 14. It was like really low at midnight. It went down to 0 to meet up with the Hofuf Saudi Arabia one. So that was weird. Let's see here. Now, in Alberta, Canada, they were at 94, so that was higher than all the other ones at midnight. And they went down to 90 by 5 a.m. And then 61 was where Northland, New Zealand was at. 61 at midnight anyway. And they went down to 59 and then back up to 60. That was it. Just like little teeny tiny blips. That was it. Just 60 Hertz frequency. But again, with the massive numbers in Hulului, South Africa, and that is 524 is where they were at midnight. And then they went up to 532 like an hour later, and they stayed there until 5 a.m. when they went back down to 529 Hertz frequency. So there you have it. You have it. God, yeah, November. Let me get out of here. Seriously, like, wake me up on the 7th of December, which, that's my ex-husband's birthday, my first one. When he met me, I'm like, hey, what's your birthday? And he's like, December 7th. And I'm like, oh my God, a day that will live in infamy. He goes, yeah, it's the day that the Japanese bombed Pearl Harbor. And I thought it would be hilarious if I pretended I didn't know that. So with a complete deadpan face, I went, what? What are you talking about? He's like, yeah, you know, the Japanese bombed Pearl Harbor. I'm like, oh my God, when? Holy crap. Is everyone okay? And he started laughing. He's like, you don't know about that? Well, what are you talking about? And he was like, well, you said a day that would live in infamy. Well, yeah, because you were born on that day. Psst, God. And he just started laughing. He was laughing so hard he was crying. He's like, you are so funny. And then I'm like, I'm just kidding. Of course I know it's Pearl Harbor Day. Obviously, that's why I said a day that will live in infamy. That's what they said on the radio broadcast I've heard a million times. And he's like, oh, thank God, I thought you were stupid. No, I'm not stupid. I'm so clever that I got you to believe I was stupid. That's how smart I am. And that was like our first night together. And we ended up like every single day together before, you know, well, until I left him a year later for my second husband. But long, crazy story. But anyway, yeah, he was a really good man, actually. He's still a good man, I'm sure of it. We just lost touch, though. But, yeah, but anyway, that's his birthday, December 7th. So it's like this whole freaking, like, month and a half, and it's all Mercury retrograde. Now we're still in the Mercury retro shade, the shade period that, unless you're a Virgo or Gemini, it's not going to affect you much, but everything went direct. It's going direct, but then, you know. Anyway, so like 3 days from now, there's the, oh God, this other planet is going direct. It's not Saturn or Jupiter, it's Neptune. Neptune is going direct. Neptune was retrograde also. I don't know for how long. But everything is going direct. It's like after like 3 weeks from now, everything is going to be freaking amazing for everybody. For every single person. Thank God. So we're just going through all this weird crap. It's like all these weird things and memories and crazy stuff is coming up. And I give you examples of what's going on in my life, but that's it explains the sepia. Maybe the sepia tones mean nostalgia. I mean, that really could be. It really could be. I was missing, obviously, always missing Amber. I was always missing her before, and now she's dead, so I'm missing her double. You know, I know I'll get to see her again someday, but it's just so irritating that I can't call her and go, look, I need advice on this thing. You know, she was like my go-to advice woman. Amber. I called her Amber because she loved bears and her name was Amber. Anyway, I miss Amber. All right. Lesson 167 is where we're at in A Course in Miracles. So acim.org. This is a workbook lesson for the Foundation of Inner Peace. Lesson 167 is this. Today, the main thought is, there is one life, and that I share with God. There is one life, and that I share with God. They're not different kinds of life, for life is like the truth. It doesn't have degrees. It is the one condition in which all that God created share. Like all his thoughts, it has no opposite. There's no death because what God created shares his life. There's no death because an opposite to God does not exist. There's no death because the Father and Son are one. And it doesn't mean Jesus, it means everybody. Jesus is the Son of God, just like you, just like me, just like everyone, Tom, Dick, and Harry walking around on the street. We all are one. We all are one. We all are one. So, okay, in this world, there appears to be a state that is life's opposite. You call it death. I don't know, you people do. I'm just kidding. So it says, you call it death. Yet we have learned that the idea of death takes many forms. It's the one idea which underlies all feelings that are not supremely happy. It is the alarm to which you give response of any kind that is not perfect joy. All sorrow, loss, anxiety, suffering, and pain, even a little sigh of weariness, a slight discomfort, or the merest frown, all of these acknowledge death, and thus deny you live. This is really deep. This like goes on and on like this. It's just to help you unravel all of the thoughts like that. This is 12 paragraphs long. They're very short paragraphs. If you want to read it, acim.org. Again, it's lesson 167. And the main thought is, there is one life, and that I share with God. All right, so I'm going to take a quick break, guys. And when I come back, we are going to go over all the different types of fairies. I have a few quotes also from Brian Froud and his wife, Wendy Froud. And I love these people. They are incredible. And I'm going to tell you about his books. And I think she has 1 or 2 books out now. They are both artists. He paints and illustrates. He draws. And she is a sculptor. So we're going to have a couple of quotes from them. I'm going to tell you about their books because, oh my God, they're so entertaining and so amazing. And if you love fairies, you're going to love, love, love their stuff. So I'm going to take a quick break. And when I come back, well, we're going to talk all about fairies. All the different kinds of fairies, what they're called, where they live, what they do. And well, you'll find out right after this. If you haven't heard about Anchor, it's high time you did. It is the absolute easiest way to make a podcast. First of all, it's absolutely free. Second of all, they have creation tools that allow you to record and edit your podcast right from your phone or your computer. You guys have known that I've been doing this for 8 months using the Anchor.fm app right on my cell phone, and I have done it everywhere, right? I have recorded this in my living room, my bedroom, little cafes in Quito, Ecuador, all over Cuenca. It's so absolutely easy to make your podcast, and editing is just a snap. Anchor also will distribute your podcast for you, and it took me about 2.5 months to become syndicated, and now I'm available on Spotify, Apple Podcast, and many more, and so can you. You can make money from your podcast also, and there's no minimum requirement. You get paid from your very first listener. It is everything that you need to make a podcast all in one place. So please, if you are interested in making a podcast of your very own, do not hesitate to start with Anchor. Download the free Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started today. Metaphysical Soul Speak is run on sponsors and listener support. This means listeners like you. If you are so inclined to support my efforts and my little podcast, please visit me at anchor.fm/metaphysical and pledge an amount of your choosing today. Thank you.
Willowish, Tuatha Sadig, Shigar Malith.
Willowish, Tuatha Sadig, Shigar Malith. That's how you call them, you know. That's exactly what you say to open up a fairy portal. You could say that directly into a crystal and open up a fairy portal in a crystal. And if a fairy comes along and wishes to be a part of your crystal, they will be. And they will stay with you, and if you treat them kindly and with respect, well, then you'll have a nice fairy friend. I do believe in fairies. I do. I do. My duende, which is fairy in Spanish, but it's not mine, it's actually my son's duende. He's been wreaking havoc now and again. His little body that is made from clay. There are a lot of ones that people make them, and then and then in their eyes are like hematite or some kind of stone, and then you put that in the moonlight, and then they come alive for the month. You just gotta charge them under a full moon every single month. And when my son charged his up, boy, that little thing has been going around tying things in knots and just having a good old time. It's been really fun having him around. But he did steal my spoon, and his little hand is clutching a penny. I should know he liked bright, shiny objects. Anything that's blue and green, and also shiny, like silver, even if it's not real silver. And I had my spoon, it was either on my bed after stirring my coffee and drying it off on a towel, and I had it on a towel on my bed. Or I might have had it in my coffee cup. Is one of the two places. I'm a Virgo. I do everything very exact. So I know it's either exactly in my cup or exactly on my bedspread. And it's gone. It's been gone for 3-4 days. And it wasn't until today I looked at my son and went, oh my God, it's your duende. That's who took my spoon. I was like accusing my son a little bit. Like, did you take my spoon? He's like, no. I'm like, I want to be mean or accuse him. But I'm like, I don't know. You sure you didn't? And he's like, no. And I've been looking throughout, like, the kitchen, the refrigerator, like, I washed the dishes several times. It wasn't in there. But sometimes they will play little tricks and prankster type things on you. One way to keep fairies around in your home is to, as Cheryl said, just keep sugar on your counter. I mean, if you spill a little sugar while you're putting sugar in your tea or coffee, don't really clean it up right away, and they'll bring them around. They like that. It's like an offering to the fairies. If you, when you eat and you leave a couple bites on your plate, just say, this is for the wee folk. It's for the wee people. It's an old Irish tradition, and that's how you keep them around, if you want them around. Keeping house plants around. If you, and now if you have malevolent fairy spirits that you don't want around, if you spill rice, it drives them crazy. They want to pick up every grain of rice, and it's so much frustration that they'll just leave. And then you have to clean up your rice and throw it away, because obviously now it's just on the floor. But that is a way to get rid of fairies if you have one that's really bugging you. But I like it. I enjoy the interaction. I like seeing them fly around my room. Oh, I just saw one in little white speck, and then it was gone. Sometimes they'll appear like a bug flying across your vision. Sometimes they'll appear as black or white. I don't believe that that's bad and good fairies. I don't think that that's what that is. I think it's the shadow of them, or if they appear a little bit more fully formed in front of you, they're white in energy, but sometimes I've seen them blue or green or kind of a golden yellow or even red. And I've seen all kinds of fairies, and my near twin flame has got a lot of pictures he sent me that his friends sent him. She has memory issues, and she can't remember after a few minutes. It's just gone, like she doesn't remember. So she'll say Willowish, Tuwatha, Sadig, Shigar Malith. She'll say that, and then she'll take a picture, and usually there's a fairy in the picture. And he sent me these pictures that are absolutely incredible. There's a fairy turned into a mermaid. There's fairies that look like they're turned into humans, and they look they're like vibratorily so high in vibration that it's like a shaky camera type of thing. But they will just they'll appear though, and they look like almost solid. with like a white streak of energy, or like energy around them. And I was taking picture for my near twin of this labradorite that I bought, and on top of it, I didn't even really notice it until I took a picture of it and I was showing it to him, and all of a sudden a little blue fairy came out of it, because there's an opal at the top, and so I thought that was kind of neat. So they like bright and shiny objects. They like a clean house. Sometimes they'll be around you if your house is messy, but if it's really, really bad or very negative, they won't hang out there. They do hang around house plants. They have an affinity for animals. If you have a particularly sweet cat, they might ride around on the back of the cat. If you have a mean cat, they might be mean to the cat. If you piss off the fairies, they will tie your hair in knots. So say you've been living in one place and everything is cool, and you brush your hair before you go to bed, and you wake up, your hair's still fine. And then you move to a new place and say it's more natural, more woodsy, and you don't pay attention to them, or you are mean to someone over the phone, or you yell, or they don't like your music if you have like heavy metal music or something crazy, or if you have a fight with someone and they think you're wrong in the fight because they'll listen in, they'll tie your hair in knots. You'll wake up and you'll be like, what the hell happened to my hair? My kids, when they're very little, sometimes would fight with each other. You just like little siblings do. They were like, like 2 and 3.5, like 3.5 to 4. And like they've always been like about 18 months, 19 months apart, something like that. So, but just under 2 years apart. And so, sibling rivalry and all that. Well, my youngest was kind of mean, like 2 years old, just little kid mean. Said something and I think pushed his older sibling. And the fairies, I felt a big rush of like wind come down the stairs and pushed him and knocked him down a couple stairs. We were at the very bottom of the staircase, thank God. We pushed him into the wall, and then he fell down 2 stairs. And he started crying a little bit, and he's like, I'm so mad. I'm like, why? I'm like, are you okay? I mean, I'm picking him up, and here, come sit in my lap, honey. Let me hold you. He goes, I'm so mad, that fairy. I'm like, what? He goes, yeah, that fairy pushed me. You saw it, right? Well, yeah, I did. I literally looked like someone had shoved him into the wall. And they dropped down 2 stairs. It was like, woo. I'm like, I tell you what, honey, you don't piss off the fairies. Never piss off the fairies. In my oldest, when they were fighting sometimes, and she didn't clean up her room, and they were in trouble for having a messy room. They had to pick up their toys and put it back neat. And she said something maybe to her dad, maybe talked back or something. And the next day her hair was in knots. It was crazy. It looked like she had teased it with a comb, and it was like sticking up like Albert Einstein. And I'm like, you guys gotta be nice. You gotta be nice to each other. You gotta get along, because you're gonna piss off the fairies, and they don't like it. They don't like it. Not at all. And they'll get you. But so I've had a lot of experiences. I could go on and on with a little bit more of my experiences with them, but I'm going to tell you tonight about the different kinds of fairy folk. All right, so if you say fairy, you could spell it Fairy. That's a more modern day of spelling it. I tend to spell Faery, and the land where they come from is the fairy realm, Faerie, realm, of course. And there was some books, and I'm still looking for them. There was a place that had very, very old, 100-year, 200-year-old books. And one of the books that my husband had gotten, and I forgot the name of it, so I've got to keep looking on the internet for it. He ordered these books, and they all came, and they were just plain white covers with a black title and the black name of the author, and that was it. It was like no artwork whatsoever. And these books were very, very old, and they were all very deeply metaphysical and spiritual. And I'm like, oh man, I wish I had those books. But one of them was about the fairies, and he refused to read any of the stories to me because he read one. And he's like, I want you to read the book, and if I read you more, you're going to just say, forget it, I already know the stories, and you'll never get to it, because he knew me. Virgo, it's like I have to read cover to cover every single word, and if I miss a word, I have to go back and read the whole, paragraph again, so I get the meaning, what the author is trying to say. I'm the same thing with movies. I have to hear every word in the first 5 or 10 minutes, otherwise I don't know what the story's about, and it just drives me crazy. So if I'm like 5 minutes late for a movie, screw it, I'll go out to eat or something instead. I'm not going to go see the movie. I'll wait till the next movie comes around, and then I'll go there. Just a Virgo, thing. But I wanted to find this book, so I'm looking for it. If I find it, and if it looks like it's really good, that'll be like one of the next books I read, because it's so interesting. Just different things that people have encountered. But there are different fairy types. In the word fairy, it says it seems to become a generic name for all types of beings. Okay. Now, this information gained from fairydust.moonfruit.com. And the name of the article is just fairy types or different fairy types. And it's fairy dust is spelled FAERYDUST, fairydust.moonfruit, just MOONFRUIT.com. All right, so different fairy types. Dryads. Dryads are tree fairies. And there's other kinds inside. There's like the hamadryads and the dryads, and there's like different, within that group, okay? But dryads are tree fairies, and they live within trees and around trees. They're like, and by the way, you know how, okay, we're human, we have guardian angels. Well, all of fairy world, they're like the guardian angels for all the plants and the animals and the rocks, like minerals, crystals. Everything has its own fairy. It's like its guardian angel to take care of it. And by the way, I forgot to say, Welsh corgis, those little dogs that are really short to the ground and very long, those tend to be buses for fairies. If you could see the fairy realm, which I can every now and again, but not to the extent where some people that are very developed psychically can see. Sometimes you could see 5 or 10 fairies riding around like a Welsh corgi is a horse. They're literally like a horse for the fairies. They're one of the coolest dogs. They have red hair, the same color as mine, and like white or off like a vanilla color, whitish chest and paws. Sometimes they look like almost like a very short, very elongated Lassie dog. If you guys remember the TV show Lassie from the 50s. So, they're very cute, though. They're just, oh my God, the Welsh corgis. They've got enormous ears. I mean, they look like magical creatures themselves. So, if you don't know what I'm talking about, look up corgi, C-O-R-G-I, corgi. They are freaking adorable, and they're fairy dogs. Fairies ride in the back of them, like horses. So, dryads are tree fairies, tree spirits. They live in and around trees. I witnessed a dryad once, and it was dancing, kind of rocking back and forth on its heels and dancing in a counterclockwise circle around a pine tree. And it had like little pointy shoes and looked like there's maybe bells on his shoes, and a pointy hat, looked like a bell on the end of a hat. Just the way that they draw the claymation figures in, I think Santa Claus is Coming to Town, maybe, or one of those. No, it wasn't. It was Rudolph. Is Rudolph, because with the elf that wanted to be a dentist, the way that the elves dressed, and they have like the hats with the pointy things. That's exactly the kind of outfit I saw this little being wear. This little dryad. He was so cute, and he was just like dancing around the tree, and he was just trying to give love to the spirit of the tree, to give energy to it. And he was white and blue, like a prana color, and very wispy looking. And I could not see through him though, but he wasn't totally solid. He was phasing in and out of the reality in which I could see. I've also seen fairy bubbles. that just float through the air and in front of me. And I've seen fairy bubbles flying around each other at night, and they're white bubbles with all kinds of rainbow colors in them. They're swirling around rainbow colors. It looks like a light bulb inside of a frosted glass ball. But it's just flying around, and I saw it with my husband. I'm like, okay, you saw it too, right? It's not like an acid flashback. And he's like, no, I saw it too. What the hell was that? I go, okay, that was like the third time I've seen that. There's the first time I ever saw two chasing each other, and we kind of heard like a weird chirping laughter, sort of like they're having fun at night, just chasing around each other in the forest. And one time my husband was sitting downstairs in the middle of the day, 3 o'clock in the afternoon, and one of those balls came and it was like right in front of his face. He was meditating, and he opened his eyes, it was right in front of his face, and he heard like a laughing sound, and then it flew away really fast. And he was like, whoa, what was that? We believe we lived in a portal, in a fairy portal there. So it was pretty cool, pretty magical place. But anyway, so dryads are tree fairies. They live within and around trees. Now, dwarves are usually to be found living up in the mountains. They are known for stealing. So maybe that's what my duende is. He might be a dwarf. Very much is very possible. They're known for stealing not only property, but women and children as well. So, oh my God. Which, have you ever heard of Snow White? Snow White and 7 Dwarves? There you go. There it is. That's pretty crazy, right? I mean, so stealing not only property, but women and children as well. All right, guys, I got to tell you something. Yeah, okay, my phone was at 100. It was about around 89. Now it went down to 6. So I'm going to have to take a break and get to the next one right after this. So I'm going to have to take a quick break. But, yeah, so dwarves. All right, I'm going to stop this. I'm actually going to do a second section. Alright guys, continuing along with our list, elves is next. The word elf or elves is derived from the word alfar, from the Nordic and Teutonic languages, and the word is associated with mountains and water, as are the elves. Although I have had elves in my house asking if they could help me clean, and I say, I don't want to, yes, you can if you want to, and I would love that, but if you could help me and my son do better at it and kind of motivate us in a positive way, that'd be better. And after I asked that, they seemed to help. We ended up cleaning. My son was cleaning up after himself, well, at least for a while. So elves can work to help you if they really want to be with you. If you put, I think if you put money, or they'll put money in your shoe, if they are like cobbler elves, if they want to, not Keebler, they make cookies. But the cobbler elves, they'll make sure your shoes are polished and not scuffed, and they'll help you if there's a problem. I think if you leave money in the shoe for them, that's something I've heard. Gnomes prefer to live in forests. They are guardians of sacred grounds, locations, and monuments. They do have a weakness for gemstones and anything that's shiny and glittery. And they are knowers, and gnomes are extremely clever. Now, I don't know if we should say this about goblins, but on this website it does say that goblins are vicious little creatures that can appear as animals. I don't know if we want to call them vicious. They can have an attitude. I think that they can be. Hobgoblins are known to be kind of meanish. I think that they're associated with, gremlins are associated. I think gremlins are a type of goblin, and they're associated with messing up mechanical things. And so they're good to call upon if you need something messed up. Like, if like a machine is doing damage in your neighborhood, such as pumping out mosquito spray, and you never asked anyone to do that, and it's not going to kill just the mosquitoes, it's going to kill all of the insects and ruin the ecology. Because, 4 counties away, one person came up with a disease after they were traveling to a place where the disease was. For example, the bird flu, not the swine flu, some other animal flu. This is the bird flu. Happened to me. Two people, several counties away, got sick after they traveled to a place where the bird flu was. And so that was a signal for vector control to go out and spray every freaking neighborhood in California. And it's like, wow, you wonder why our forests are so dry and there's so many fires everywhere. I'm sure there's a way, if you could put all the pieces of the puzzle together, maybe it comes back to that, Maybe that dries out the plants, kills the insects, the birds leave, the birds aren't, doing their business next to the plants where they live. And therefore, maybe that has something to do with it. I don't know. It bothers me. So goblins, you can call upon them. You can ask them for stuff. But it does say that puka are Irish goblins, and they are usually friendly, but they do like to play pranks. Now, I don't know if you guys have ever heard of the movie Harvey with James Stewart. Excellent movie, old black and white film from, I believe it was 1950. I think so. Anyway, this is a really excellent movie. And basically he has a Celtic puka as his invisible friend. And he's 6'3.5" is the puka. Huge. And he looks like a rabbit inside the mind of Jimmy Stewart. He is a rabbit in that, but he's invisible, right? And only he can see them, and it's a great movie. And the whole time you're like, is this guy crazy? Is the puka real? You really, really want to believe him because he's so charming and sweet. But then you see him drinking, and you think, well, maybe it's what he's drinking. Maybe the alcohol is affecting his brain funny. And the movie is cool because it has you guessing the whole time. And I'm not going to tell you what happens. But I love this line when Elwood, which is Jimmy Stewart's character, he explains that Harvey has the power to stop time. He says, well, did I tell you he could stop clocks? Well, you've heard the expression, his face would stop a clock. Well, Harvey could look at your clock and stop it. And you could go anywhere you like, with anyone you like, and stay as long as you like. And when you get back, not 1 minute will have ticked by. You see, science has overcome time and space, while Harvey has overcome not only time and space, but any objections. So it's pretty cool, and everyone loves Elwood. He's super lovable, and he walks around with a puka, the Irish, basically an Irish goblin, and they're very tall, and many times, if you can see them, they'd be shaped like rabbits. So it's pretty cool. All right. So the next one we come across is leprechauns. I love leprechauns. They're so cute. Leprechauns are Irish fairies who are said to be very cunning. You know who they are. They hide the pots of gold at the end of every rainbow. And they travel with a shillelagh, and they put the shillelagh into the ground, and they create a rainbow. And then when the rainbow goes away, that's because the leprechaun, that's how they travel. They travel on the rainbows. Now, good movies about leprechauns. Now, there's some horror movies. I don't like that because I don't like that at all. But Darby O'Gill and the Little People, one of the best movies ever. Finian's Rainbow, also a really, really good one. Now, there's 3 others about leprechauns I haven't seen yet. Getting Lucky, The Wearing of the Grin, and Red Clover. Those are all movies I would like to see. Now, Getting Lucky it could go either way. It was made in 1990. It could be very cheesy. Red Clover, I don't know if it's a horror movie. I'm not going to watch it if it is. I refuse, because I just do. I don't need to see something that's going to paint the fae folk in a bad light, because I don't think that they are bad or evil or any of that. I think they could get angry. Don't piss them off. But overall, they need to have respect. And when we have lost our way and we're no longer connecting with nature and we're no longer seeing or even paying attention to the fae, now look what's happened. Our world is ending, right? So it was all part of the plan, but I don't think we should ignore the fairies, the fae folk, the fairy folk. Like we can't ignore them. They're too special and too important. Anyway, The Wearing of the Grin was made in 1951, so that one also, it looks quite promising, I think. All right. Pixies are cheerful and mischievous, and oftentimes they'll take the form of a hedgehog. I did not know that. According to this website, they say they're also well known for their pranks. They adore music and dancing, and a piskie, Piskie, is a Cornish pixie. So there you go. I think I like pixies. I think they have wings, and I think that might be what flutters around here a lot. Now, salamanders, I love salamanders. They are fire fairies. So always, before you blow out a candle, ask permission. Let the salamander know you're going to do that, because that's what gives the fire its life. Fire is alive because of the salamanders, right? So you see them moving all around. It says that, salamanders are fire fairies. Their bodies are red and gold. They are long and tapered and look like streaks of light and sparks as they dance in the fire. Their energies are very fast and unpredictable as fire itself. Now, if you want to see them or see what they can do, you talk to your fire. If you have a fire in your fireplace or a bonfire outside, and say, I would like to take a picture of you. I took a picture of my fire I had a fireplace I put on the wall that burns alcohol gel, and it doesn't have any soot or anything. It's more decorative than anything. Although it did raise the temperature in my room several degrees. My fire flipped me off. It was hilarious. I actually have a picture of a fire flipping me off. It's like a fist coming out of the fire with the middle finger up, because they have a really good sense of humor. So I don't know, but I've gotten salamanders also making the shape of like a phoenix and like an angel. And I've gotten some really, really cool pictures of them over the years. So you just got to tell them in advance. You could take the picture and they'll do something special for you if they like you. Now, the she, it's spelled Sidhe, but pronounced she, are Irish fairies, and they're attracted to anything that's really beautiful. Now, the she is Gaelic, or Gaelic, you could call it that way in Scotland, they say Gaelic. It's Gaelic for people of the hills. Originally, it referred to the mounds in which fairies lived, although now it's come to refer as the inhabitants as well. So basically, the she people. Now, the sylphs, I love the sylphs. Oh, they're some of my favorite. The sylphs are fairies of the air. They are transparent and very elusive, and they are surrounded by a glowing light. And this type of fairy is usually found in children's books, but something very special about the sylphs is they're the ones that push the wind around, and they also create the clouds. You know, they always have all of the fairy kingdoms have a deva, who's like, you know, basically the queen in that section of the world, and they're in charge. So if there's a forest, there's one deva for the whole forest, and it's like a hierarchy. And so, but all the things come from on high. Everything comes from Prime Creator, but they get instructions on what to put in the clouds. And so God allows the signs to come through the clouds, but he has the sylphs create it. Now, things that are done in the upper atmosphere are the dragons, and the dragons are the invisible. They're called dragons. They're like invisible, well shaped, like actual dragons, and they move around hurricanes and massive weather storms. They're in charge of El Nino winds. They're in charge of all of that. So, if there's a tornado, usually it's because a dragon was told that a tornado needs to be in a certain place. And again, they all just follow the orders of Prime Creator, and it goes on down like a hierarchy. So there's that. Now, undines are water fairies, and they can be found in forest pools and waterfalls. They have really beautiful voices. They can sing very, very well. Sometimes they can be heard singing over the sound of the water. And of course, there's many more, but they're some of the more universally known ones are undines. Now, there's mermaids, which are much grander undines, and they live in the ocean. And then in the rivers, you'll find naiads. I love the naiads. It's one of my favorite things ever. And naiads have fairy wings and mermaid tails, and they live in fresh water. So, let's see. Nature fairies, that's like a natural, or just like a regular, and what you just call fairies who live in natural places. So pretty much all fairies are nature fairies, because that's what they do. Fire fairies, there are two types of fire fairies. They say flame spirits and elementals, and they have the ability to create and destroy. Now, this is true, flame spirits and elementals, but and the fire fairies also are salamanders. For the salamanders are found in the hearth when you have like a fire in the fireplace or in your candles. Now, jinn are created from fire. They are beings of fire. And the jinn also every jinn has something to do with the natural world as well. Even though they're a lot more autonomous, they're like humans, but they live in a different dimension. And they've got kingdoms and they've got palaces. And some of the jinns are Muslim. Most of them are Muslim. But some of them are Christian, and some of them don't believe in any religion. There's different jinns. We can go over that on another day. But I think for the most part, if you are respectful of them and you give them love and honor and respect them, that they will be very nice to you. But jinns sometimes will take care of like an entire lake, or, if you see the janns moving the giant pillars of sand through the desert in the Arab world, like massive, like air, like it's not quite, it's like a column of air filled with the sand. That's a jann traveling across the desert. And they move the sand because things need to change, and it's all a part of the balance of nature. But they're considered to be angry jinn, the jann, and they're hard to work with. If you're a human wanting to work with them, they won't work with you. But if you've ever been walking down the street and a dirt devil, like a teeny, teeny, tiny, they're super adorable. They're like a little tiny, tiny tornado that kind of goes across your foot. You might have done something to piss off the jann. And it's like a baby jann. It's like they're very, very teeny tiny. But that's how you know you're in the presence of a jinn. Is sometimes there'll be like a little tiny tornado, and it's like they call them a dirt devil. At least from the Arkansas South. That's like my grandpa's from Arkansas, and he used to call those dirt devils, or little whirlwinds. I don't know if you've ever heard of a whirlwind. And one time, I don't know what happened, but one of these janns knocked my brother in the swimming pool. He was standing on the side of the pool. This massive wind came up, and it was a little bit of dust and dirt, only in a column. It wasn't a tornado. It was just like just a column of dirt. And it came and pushed my brother in the pool. And it didn't. And I was right next to him. Didn't even touch me. And my stepmom and my aunt. I think it touched my stepmom too, but my aunt didn't. It didn't even affect my aunt at all. And it did something to my stepmom, like mussed her hair up or knocked over a drink or something, and that was it. And my aunt and I were looking at each other like, okay. It was so weird. But these things are around all the time, but if you don't know to look for them, you're never going to see them, right? All right, so let's see what else we have. Garden fairies. This is what you find, the flower fairies. They're so cute, and they just want to love and protect your flowers. A lot of times you'll see butterflies, and the butterflies will actually be fairies disguised. Sometimes you'll see a dragonfly go by real fast, and you'll see two little legs hanging down, and you're like, wait, what? And then you look again, and it's a dragonfly. Wait a minute. No, I know what I saw. That's a fairy in disguise as a dragonfly. And sometimes they let you get a little glimmer into their world. Like you could see them, and then then they go back, or they'll disappear entirely, and you're like, wait, wasn't there a dragonfly just here? Yeah, that's usually a fairy. If you've ever encountered something that's a little off like that, that's what it was. I love them. They pour out all their blessings upon the world right when the sun is rising. They have long flowy gowns and transparent wings, and sometimes their hats look like the flowers that they take care of. The garden fairies are very adorable. Rock fairies live among the rocks. They're very wise. Also, there's crystal fairies, the same exact thing, very smart and very sweet, and they want to help you. And tree fairies, we already talked about dryads. Tree fairies live in every tree, and they look after the tree, and they control its energies, which is what I saw one doing one day. There's also hamadryads and other kinds. Now, the different names that are given to the fairies, in Scotland, they say the wee ones, the pixies, the still ones, the silent moving folk, and prowlies. In Ireland, they say wee folk, the little folk, the gentry, the good folk, the blessed ones, them who prowl, down Maith, the good people, and down she, the fairy people. They also say, the wee people. They say wee folk or the wee people. And that's why I say when you leave a little bit of food on your plate, you say, this is for the wee people. If you want them around, you just say, this is for the wee people. Don't throw it away right away. You don't want to insult them. Just kind of leave your plate out for an hour and then take care of it. In Wales, they say them who be, the fair folk, and the night walkers. In England, among all the above, they say the little people, adlers, and mentors. Now, fairies will fall into 4 general categories: air, earth, fire, or water. And air are the winged fairies and the sylphs. Earth are gnomes, dwarves, and pixies. Water are the mermaids, the sirens, the undines, the naiads. And the fire ones are salamanders. It says the word Daveth. I don't know if that means what that means, or if that's the name of the person who wrote the article, because it's like kind of below, it says salamanders for fire. But there's also, and elementals, the word elementals just means like the air elemental spirits, the earth elemental spirits. Instead of saying them by specific category, you could just say air elemental, or, oh, I just felt a water elemental, One time I drank a glass of water, and I said I wanted to connect with the fairy that lives in the water, and I told it I'm going to drink the water though because I'm thirsty, and it said yay, and I drank it, and the fairy went into my body, and then after a while, it's kind of embarrassing, but I burped, and when I burped, it flew out, and it said that was so much fun, thank you. And I'm like, whoa. They like to play around a lot, and I love them. So now, let's see. I had a couple things I wanted to read to you about Brian Froud. He does all the creatures in the Dark Crystal, and he has made many books. He's got a card deck, which if you don't have it and you love fairies, go get it. It's expensive. It's like $40, $45, but so worth it. It is so amazing. I love this card deck. It always gave me crazy chills because it was so accurate, at least for me, and I felt them all around me, everywhere, when I was using these cards. So, let's see. I'm trying to see where it was, what I wanted to read from him. I mean, his art is incredible. If you just go, I think his World of Fraud is where he is. Let me pause this for a minute. I'm going to look. Okay. All right, so there. Now we just had 10 seconds of dead air. What the hell? All right, so yes, it is World of Fraud, and I don't know if you guys heard it right when I started to record again. Something was in my kitchen moving dishes around. My son is asleep in his room, hasn't opened his door, and I'm in here and there's no one else here. So maybe that 10 seconds pause was so you guys could hear that. I don't know. So they're here. The Seelies are here. The Seelie or the Unseelie. The Unseelies are the angry, mischievous, mad ones, and the Seelies are the good ones. So basically, Brian Froud, he says, I paint the spirit and soul of what I see. And when he first moved to the countryside, he walked around and he thought he could see bits and pieces of what might be fairies, fairy folk, and then he started making them out, and all of a sudden they popped out everywhere, and everywhere he looked, it's all he could see. And that happened to me too. At first I thought, oh, that could be an eye. Oh no, it's gone now. Oh, must have been my mind. Oh, look at that. That could be a wing. Oh, I don't know. Now I see faces everywhere. I could look through, I went to a friend's house. I was looking through a National Geographic magazine, and there was the most adorable undine just under the surface of the water, and she was smiling with a giant face, just smiling and beaming up at the person who took the camera, or took the picture. And no one said a word. It wasn't in the article. We showed it to our friends. We're like, we don't see it. And I'm looking at my husband. He's looking at me, and we're like, it's so obvious, though. It's right there. It's blue. It's like a real pale blue, ethereal color. And yeah, it was just, it was there. If you start to see them, you're going to see them everywhere. Even on my Google Chromecast, they put all these pictures up of random places around the world of, nature. And I'm like, there's one, there's one, there's one. Oh my gosh, there's a big one. Ooh, hi guys. Ooh, I just saw like 4 or 5 bright lights in my room just now. I'm getting the chills. I was burning up. Now I'm getting the chills. Hi guys. I love you so much. Whoa, they're everywhere. Whew, I feel like I'm seeing stars, but I'm not dizzy. They want me to see them so bad now. I love you guys. Good to see you. Kind of like, it didn't scare me, but like, woo. So, let's see here. Fairies. Now, he said that he likes to concentrate on what is fairy portraiture, Brian Froud. He builds colors and shapes and textures of the landscape that he sees around him. And he says, I've been actively engaged with mythic imagery ever since I picked up that Rackham book. But it really came into focus when I moved from London to Dartmoor. As I walked through the woods and over the moor, I looked at the trees and the rocks and the hills, and I could see the personality in those forms metamorphizing into fairies, goblins, trolls, and other nature spirits. Now, if you have ever seen, I mean, he has a lot of books, Lady Cottington's Fairies and Pressed Fairies, and which is full of humor. A lot of stuff is really funny. He says he's not a fantasy painter. He just takes everything from the folklore and mythological stories and from psychological stories over the years and couples that with what he actually sees in nature, basically. And if you get a hold of his cards, oh my God. Like, in one card, there's like 30 or 40 fae, and at first you only see one, and then you see 2 or 3, and then you're like, wait a minute. They're everywhere, and that's how they are in nature, exactly how he paints it, because I have seen them like that. So, But he wrote Lady Cottington's fairy album of strange stains and mysterious smells. I bought that for my oldest kid when he was like 4. He loved that. And the Pressed Fairy Journal of Madeline Cottington. It's about a mad fairy hunting family from the Victorian times until the present. He also wrote Good Fairies, Bad Fairies, which I also used to own. The Runes of Elfland and Brian Froud's World of Faerie, which I absolutely love. A Midsummer Night's Fairy Tale, The Winter Fairies of Spring Cottage, and The Art of Wendy Froud all belong to his wife, Wendy Froud. Also, Toby Froud, I believe, is also doing his art now, their son. So it's pretty incredible when you see. Now, Wendy does sculptures as well, and I believe that also Brian does. And they're now working for, at least Brian is working for The Dark Crystal. So if you've ever seen that series, just came out on Netflix. I don't mean the original, I mean the current one. And it's like, I don't know, like 10 or 12 hours long. It's like really long. This is the first season, so it might actually go longer. So I thought that was pretty neat. So I wanted to talk to you guys about him. If you look at World of Froud, you're going to just be like so amazed. Now, fairy rings, that's something that can happen. You're trying to get a perfect long lawn and suddenly there's a circle of mushrooms or dandelions, or it looks like someone peed in a ring in your lawn, and it's like, what the hell? How come there's like a circle in my lawn? This makes no sense. It's a fairy ring. So they will go over and over and over again. This is a passageway to the fairy realm. Don't ever disrespect the fairies. Don't ever walk inside a fairy ring. Just let it be. Maybe put rocks around the ring itself and make it like, hey, I meant to do that. Just let them be. Sometimes you'll see toads liking to hang around, and it might be fairies disguised. See, there's all these, there's this fairymagic.com. They're like, use liquid fertilizer, get the grass to grow during the warm season, and it's like, I don't know. I don't think you should do anything. If you have a little section of your yard you want to dedicate to your fairy friends, just go ahead and do it. My good friend Clifton told me that one day he went to this lady's house and he just saw them standing at the edge of her glen where it met the forest, and this is in Oklahoma, and he saw it, and he was like, wait a minute, am I seeing something? She's like, oh yes, you are. They're little people. They were only like 1 foot tall, if they were maybe even shorter than that, and they all came walking out, and they had spears, like they're getting ready to go into battle. And he saw other ones in the field, and they were the same. And he was like sending them love and peace and praying for peace, and they were all very happy about that. And no battle occurred that day, but he was like, whoa, I felt like there was going to be something going on. Like they were like, like I guess they were competing over land or something. So, on this fairy magic, spelled FAERIEMAGICK, it says, generally, if you want to dig down or dig up the ring, it's going to just return over and over and over again, because the fairies are persistent. It's their passageway, and it doesn't matter where it manifests in our world. To them, this is their thing, right? It says some landscapers and homeowners are horrified by fairy rings, and they try to banish the rings completely. What this person says is, I think it's a very bad idea to oppose the fairies. And I don't think it's nice either. I think it's very mean to block them and not work with nature. If you work with them and you ask them, well, how do you want me to grow a garden, and what do you want to grow? They'll work with you. Use a pendulum or muscle testing, which I did an episode on muscle testing, kinesiology. I haven't done a pendulum one yet, but I will, coming soon. I don't know when, but I definitely want to do it. I just want to read Letter to Robin again, so that I could get the main points. There might be some smaller things I forgot. So this person says, the green man and the green lady or green woman, they are there to protect the environment. What drives fairies away from the fairy ring is not the apparent destruction, it's chemicals that are used by humans. Don't ever use chemicals around fairies. I think it can kill them. I wrote a movie called Spirits of Nature. If you want to read it, just look my name up, Elena Fox Starks, The Spirits of Nature. It's on several websites. I had placed in a competition, at least for the first level for screenwriting, and so I ended up on a few different websites. The Spirits of Nature. I've come up with ideas on how to rewrite it since then. It's a lot better. And don't try to call that number. It's not my number anymore. It's not even my address anymore. But if you do want to get in touch with me, of course, metaphysicalsoulspeak@gmail.com. But I did write about that, and they showed me that when you pour chemicals, that it chokes them and they die. When their plants die, they die. They don't have a reason to stay if their plant is dead. So, so if it's a fairy for a weed and you kill the weed, well, guess what? You killed the fairy as well. So there's ways to keep down weeds in gardens, and I think I talked about that. There's a vegetable mat. You just put it over it, and that will prevent the weeds from growing. So when you do start a garden, you just do that right away. Then they won't grow there, And they ask the fairies to help you, and they will. Give them 10% back, and they will. They will help you. And you let them have their fairy ring wherever the hell they want it, because it's their world too. It's not just our world. So it says the fairies own the ring, it's their gateway, and most of it is in their world, not in ours. So we see hardly any of it. So let's see. I don't recommend going into their dimension, to be honest. I did talk about Guatemala, the mysteries of Guatemala, and the man who was walking down the center of the road, and everyone is warned. You have to walk to the left or the right of the road, but preferably the left. Otherwise, the fairy portal will open up and will swallow you, and you'll be gone for months, and you'll think it's only a day or two, and then when you come out of it, you die within a week, usually within 48 hours. It's happened many, many times to a lot of gringos, and the locals are like, we told you. And they'll come back and they'll act like they're drunk, like they've been drinking with the fairies, and they don't remember what happened. And they're like, where have you been? It's been like 2.5 months. And they're like, no, it's only been like a day. What are you talking about? I just went home and I came back. And they're like, you were gone for like months. We thought you were dead. And then within a couple days, they usually are. I don't know if that's around the world like that. I know in Guatemala, that is what has happened. And by the way, I wanted to say thank you to you guys in Guatemala that are listening to my show, because I'm on the iTunes list. So, hey, thank you so much. There's a lot more. I will talk to you guys more on another day about the fairy lore. This is just the basic all about fairies. It's not about all the different kinds of fairies. There's so many kinds. There's books and books and books. You could go to your local Barnes & Noble, which thank God was just saved by a billionaire who loves to read. They almost went under. Thank God they didn't. They're fine. And whenever I get back to the States, I'm probably going to fill a suitcase with books from Barnes & Noble. I'm going to have like an extra $1,000 on hand, because I need to get a bunch of fairy cards and a bunch of fairy books and start rebuilding my supply. Maybe I'll figure out a way to make a bookstore here, because that would be the best thing if I could do a bookstore, like a new age metaphysical bookstore in English and Spanish. I think that would be super cool. But yeah, so anyway, well, there you have it. At least that's a good starter kit to understand about the fairy folk. And the biggest thing is just to love them. Tell them you love them. Say hello to the trees. Say hello to the grass and the flowers. Say hello to bunny rabbits hopping by. because there might be a fairy riding on the back of that jackrabbit or that little bunny rabbit. You don't know. You don't know. You can't see them all the time. They're usually invisible. If they love and trust you, you can see them. And the more you give them love and energy and say, I do believe in fairies. I do. They will believe in you too. And they will help you manifest things as well. And we did go over that a little bit with Jude Dekoff, and that was who you heard in the beginning of this, who was saying, of course, let me see if I can remember this, Willowish Tuatha. Okay, well, I'm sorry, Willowish Tuatha Saga. See, there we go. It's so hard to remember. Okay, let me try it. Oh my gosh, it's like going. It's like I tried to pause it and it's not pausing. All kinds of stuff. See, I'm still in the retro shade of Mercury. Oh my gosh. And now my other phone is just acting all crazy like. Anyway. See, they don't want me to say it. I'm not remembering it suddenly out of nowhere. The Tuatha De Danann that's what part of this. And Tuatha De Danann, by the way, they're the people. Just like saying, the Seedleys or the She. Tuatha De Danann is, I believe, another way of saying the fairy folk. A very ancient way, like Gaelic. So, all right, let me try this again. I want you guys to learn this so that you can learn how to create fairy portals and how to interact with them. And you just give them so much love and, leave them a little bit of food, add a little bit of, or just, if you drop a little bit of sugar, just let it be for like a couple hours, Here we go.
Willowish Tuatha Sadig Shiger Malith.
Willowish Tuatha Sadig Shiger Malith. That's how you say it.
Willowish Tuatha Sadig Shiger Malith.
There you go. That's my near twin flame. He sent that to me. I'm like, please send it to me again. Because he was saying it so fast. And I'm like, how are you saying this thing so fast? That is a fairy spell, fairy magic, to bring the fairy magic into your world and your realm. Again, don't piss off the fairies. Just love them. Give them peace. Give them space and room to grow their plants. And allow them to be a part of your life, because I think a life not lived magically is just not worth living it boringly. Anyway, I love you guys. Thank you for being on the special spiritual journey with me. Thank you for everything that you do for me every day. I know a lot of you are putting this podcast forth in all the spiritual Facebook groups and Instagram things, and I'm really appreciating it because I am seeing the numbers go up. I'm really glad. Thank you for those of you who are brand new, just joined in listening. I just want to thank you all. So that's it. I'm going. Gone. All right. Signing off with peace and joy and the high vibes of the holy fifth dimension. Until next time, guys, peace. Do you ever wish you could look into the next chapter in your book of life and see what's coming next? What does the universe have in store for you? I can help you with that. I will give you a Celtic cross reading, which is 10 cards, or you can ask me 3 questions, and I use 3 cards per question. So that's 9 cards, or I can channel your higher guidance, or maybe God directly for you. Maybe you want to talk to your dear departed Aunt Edna, because maybe you have a few questions and she was the smartest person you knew. If your deceased relatives are available or your ascended masters, I can channel them for you personally. Let me have 1 hour to show you the future in your next chapter of your book of life. Readings are $75, and it takes me an hour to an hour and a half to complete. And for this price, you will also be hooked up to the healing grid around the planet for free, which means yours truly, me, I will be giving you Reiki 24 hours a day, 7 days a week for the rest of your life. All you have to do is let me know. metaphysicalsoulspeak@gmail.com, and we will explore your future together.